everybody! For this week's craft, I'm going to show you how I decorated these ugly old black pots to make them look like these bright and happy flower pots. A lot of times we buy plants that need to be repotted or planted in the ground when we get home, and we are left with ugly old pots that usually get thrown away because they're too ugly to use. After buying some new bushes on clearance and planting them in the ground, I was left with all these nice sized pots that I just couldn't bring myself to throw away, so I decided to decorate them. I thought it would be fun to come up with ways to give each of the pots a different texture by using stuff that I found in my craft closet or laying around the house to make each of the pots unique. I will show you how I made each texture and how I decorated them to inspire you to come up with your own unique textures. I went with a beach theme for all my pots. Before we start decorating, we need to clean our pots first. Of course our pots are going to be dirty, but we want our glue to stick to the pots and not to the dirt. So I used a small scrub brush and soapy water to wash my pots. You can pick your stickers off while washing them or before decorating them. Then I rinsed them and set them in the sun to dry. I used two different kinds of glue to do this project because that is what I had in my craft closet. I used E6000 and Amazing Goop. They are both great adhesives. Let me start off by showing you how I made my purple pot texture. I wanted to give one of my pots a rope look, so I used the old clothesline rope that I saved after replacing it for a new rope on my clothesline this year. I spread my adhesive onto the pot evenly with my finger in small sections at a time. I wrap the rope around and around the pot until the whole pot is covered. Then I set the pot in the sun to dry. After the glue is dry, I used acrylic paint to paint over top of the rope with a color that reminds me of the beach. Once the whole pot is painted, I set it out in the sun to dry again. While that is drying, I start my next pot. For this next pot texture, I used these doilies that I found at the thrift store about a year ago. I just knew that they would come in handy for a cool craft one day. Here is what my lace doilies look like. They came in a pack of 10. I only used 4 of them for my pot. I evenly spread the adhesive onto the pot with my finger and set the doily on the glue, making sure that the edges were covered well. I cut the next doily for the best way to fit the edges together. After the glue is dry, I use a Sweetheart Pink to paint over the top of the doilies. I made sure I didn't paint it too thick because I like the black peeking through the design on the lace. For this pot, I used scrap pieces of burlap ribbon to give the pot a bumpy texture, and I thought it looked really awesome after I painted it. I love finding ways to use up my scraps so that I don't have to throw them away. I saved all of the scrap pieces of burlap ribbon from the burlap sunflower craft that I did last year, and I thought it would be perfect for this pot. I evenly spread the adhesive onto the pot, doing one burlap section at a time. I used scissors to trim and shape the pieces to fill in the gaps. When the pot is covered, I set it in the sun to dry. When the glue is dry, I painted it another beachy color. I love how the paint brought out the texture of the burlap. I think this is the perfect texture for my beach theme. Now let me show you how I made this unusual pot. It reminds me of looking at the bottom of the sea through the water ripples. I thought it was so different and it makes me smile every time I look at it. I used insulating foam for the very unusual texture of this pot. Be sure to shake it well. Then give the outside of the pot a thin layer of the foam. It expands, so a thin layer will be all you need. I do not recommend that kids use the foam, and you might want to wear gloves because the stuff is sticky and can be a real mess. I was lucky to only get a tiny bit on my thumb. If you are careful, it is a lot of fun to use. I love experimenting with stuff like this. Watch how it expands as it dries. Once it is dry, and it dries pretty quick, you can paint it. The color I chose was aquamarine. Be sure to get the paint into all the grooves. It will be a well-insulated pot for the lucky flower that gets this home. Okay, now that all the pots have all their textures and colors, I glued seashells on them to give them that extra beachy look. And I also added rope to the tops and bottoms of some of the pots just to give it more of a finished look. I kept this last pot simple but made it sparkle with glitter. You all know how much I love to see things sparkle in the light. I think it is so pretty. Because I live in the mountains and not by the beach, I had to buy my seashells at the dollar store. For my simple seashell pot, I glued random size shells all around the pot like this. I had to wait for each side of the shells to dry before turning the pot to glue more shells on. I gave this pot glitter by using Elmer's glitter glue. I used my finger to spread the glue between all the shells around the pot. The glitter made this pot look perfect. I love it. The final touch for all of my beachy pots is to glue seashells on them. We are going to enjoy seeing these happy pots all around our deck this summer. All of my pots look fantastic, and I hope that you enjoyed watching me decorate them, and that it inspires you to decorate your ugly pots so that you don't have to throw them away. You can inspire someone else just by leaving your ideas and comments down below. Or you can visit our Facebook page where you can post some pictures of your most recent crafts and some of your ideas too. Be sure to check out these other 2 videos for some more flower pot craft ideas. And don't miss out on our solar light beach jar tutorial because they go great with our seashell flower pots. I'm going to leave links to all that down below. Thank you so much for watching and sharing. I love you all, and I'll see you next week with another craft. Bye! You ready to go march in the band?
Sure.
What you going to play today?
Piccolo.
You're going to play the piccolo. Awesome. Okay, we're sitting here at the parade. We're waiting for Dustin to come down. Are you ready, Dylan?
Yep.
This is fun stuff. Ready, Jarrett? Oh yeah. This is a book I'm reading while I'm waiting for the parade. I just started it this morning. It's a pretty good book. What's the theme of the parade this year? Awesome. I got me a Tootsie Roll. Dylan's getting me Tootsie Rolls. Oh, thank you. Meanwhile, my daughter Ashley is at the baseball game.